everybody. Welcome to my Tablet live stream and welcome to Boxzes Studio. So my name is Conrad, the founder of Boxzes, a brand that specializes in multifunctional display boxes. And today I'll be going over 10 cost-effective tips on how to utilize your personal space. So for my first point, I'll actually be talking about lighting. Artificial lighting can be used in many ways to help create an atmosphere, create a sense of space, as well as just highlight different objects. So for beginners, let's first talk about the color temperature. For white light, there are mainly 3 different color temperatures: a warm white, a neutral white, and a cool white, where the warm white is more of a yellowish hue, and a cool white is more of a bluish white. I feel like lighting is often very overlooked, and if used incorrectly, it definitely really messes with your work productivity. But if used correctly, it can completely change up the atmosphere of the whole space. So in general, I'd say for places where you want to relax a bit more, you would want to use a warmer lighting, such as places like your bedroom, your dining room, or even just your rest area. And for places where you want to focus more, I would say, such as your workspace, you'd want to use more of a cooler lighting. But I guess this is a personal preference for everybody. For me personally, I use more of a neutral lighting for my workspace because my work nature didn't require me to be completely awake at all times or alert. So if you actually look above, I've used a warmish kind of light with a neutral kind of white. So what that does is, in conjunction, it gives me a neutralish color light, and also adds a little bit of layer, and I think it's a nice touch. So moving on to my second point, I'll be talking about the types of light. So using a different type of light can help change up the purpose, create a different atmosphere, create a different mood. And as you just saw, you don't have to use tube lighting you can't use tube lighting for every area of your home, right? Because it may not be suitable. You may want to use different types of lights for different scenarios. So maybe you may want to use spotlights, LEDs, or even some kind of lamp, And let's just take a look at how I use spotlights for when I have people over to completely change up the atmosphere of a space. So we can see this is the spotlight setting, and you can use spotlights to highlight different areas, create a sense of space, or whatnot. You can actually see that I've highlighted area 1 just by turning off other lights, and it really makes this whole area the center of attention. And then, turning it back on, we have section 3 and 4, and then lastly over there we have section 2. So now moving on to my third point, being confined in the space without natural lighting can make you feel like you're in the movie Parasite, you know what I mean? And seriously, just being confined without natural light can really take its toll on your mental health. You should try to expose yourself and try to open up your space a bit more. So let me give you an example. For me, I have my curtains down because it helps with my overall work productivity. But if you take a look, now that you're exposed to natural light, not only will you feel more refreshed, you also have a dose of vitamin D, as well as make you feel less of Parasite. Yeah. Okay, so moving on to my fourth point, I'll be talking about utilizing wall space. So not only can wall space be used for aesthetic purposes, it can also be used for functionality. For people, when we talk about utilizing wall space, the first thing that comes to mind maybe just art pieces, but not everybody's into art, right? So you can try to use different kind of stuff like clocks, calendars, drawing boards, magnetic boards, or if you want extra functionality, you can try different hangers, shelving unit, or whatnot. But for me, I have utilized my wall space with product photos and artistic portraits. Not only does this give an overall aesthetic to this area, but also serves functionality when I have to explain the products on the product table. So a more unique example of utilizing wall space would be over here, where I've actually created a new project with Storm, and we've created a functional storage unit that is also an art piece at the same time. Yeah. Which now brings me on to my fifth point. Fifth point is very important as well, and it's to create themes and color codes. So by creating different themes and different color codes, you can help distinguish the different sections of an area and a different space. For me, you can see that actually I have curated my space with a transparent theme. So everything, while being different colors, it's also in the same theme, giving it a cleaner look. And building on top of a cleaner look, I know all of you guys have watched Marie Kondo and really try to get into the habit of decluttering. You know, hide away any exposed cables or wires, and then if you really have anything that you don't want, which you can classify as things that you haven't used for 6 months or so, you should really throw it away because you won't be using it for another 6 months, I guarantee you. But for me, you can also try to repurpose different stuff. So I have old magazines that I didn't want to throw away because magazines to me is, I see it as an art piece as well. So I kind of just keep it as decoration. But for people at home, you can repurpose stuff like your t-shirts into bags and, you know, that kind of stuff. And now I'll show you a bit more on color theme here. So you can see that section. So I know there are newcomers that are tuning in. My name is Conrad Lee. Thank you for tuning in. And I'm actually talking about how to utilize your personal space better. And right now I'm on to my fifth point, which is curating themes and color codes. So if you look over here, section 1 is actually my meeting area. So I've used quieter colors and more neutral colors such as white, gray. And what this does, it helps give you less distractions when you're meeting. And then if you look over here, section 2, I've used louder colors because what that does is it helps indirectly stimulate creativity for me. So you can see the contrast between loud colors and more neutral colors and how that really affects the overall purpose of the space. Which now brings me on to my sixth point, having a multifunctional space and furniture. So I've actually seen a lot of people in quarantine transforming or utilizing their living room or open area into a place where they can exercise, and I think that's completely great, you know. But the possibilities are endless. Just try to think out of the box a bit more. And for me, you can see all you have to do is add simple items to utilize a space. So for me, this area is actually also my photography area, my photography studio. All I have to do is add a backdrop stand, and some lighting equipment, and this place automatically becomes my photography area. And if we look back to this section here, it's actually also my dining area. So let's take a look. Just simply by adding and removing a tissue box, not only does it become my meeting area, but also becomes my dining area. Okay, moving on, building on top of the sixth point of multifunctional furniture. This is my favorite point because you really want to invest in multifunctional furniture that will help minimize clutter and help with multifunctional uses. So for me, my perfect example is obviously the Empha box, because not only can you use it from the front horizontally or vertically like over there, you can actually use it for many use cases. You can use it as a display box, a storage box. You can see a display tower over there, an open shelf, even a functional art piece, a mirror cabinet. The list goes on. I'm telling you, it goes on. And then, which brings me to my seventh point, which is open versus closed storage. So if you're in a small space, you really, really want to maximize your open storage. You really want to display what that wants to be seen and hide away what you don't want to be seen. For example, your toilet appliances, your cleaning appliances, etc. You know, just hide away anything that you don't want to be seen, and definitely display stuff that you want to be seen, such as your art, your collectibles, and even better, display it through the Empha box because it helps. Not only does it act as a storage unit, but it can also display everything that's inside. And then if you look over here, you want to hide away anything that you don't want people to see, just to give a cleaner look to your environment. And what I've done here is I've hid everything that I don't want to be seen behind this empty box mirror lid. You can see this mess right here. All I gotta do is cover it up with an empty box mirror lid. And not only is the empty box mirror lid acting as a closed storage, but it also helps become multifunctional in the aspect that it's a mirror, as well as the mirror also gives off reflections, making the space feel a bit more bigger. And if we look over here, about open storage, I'd actually want you guys to take a look at something I like to display often, which are my magazines. So you can see here one of my favorite magazines, and then, well, they're all my favorite, but this one particular today is my favorite. Yeah. So for open storage, that's what you can do. Display everything that you want people to see. And yeah, I want you guys to all watch the live stream today. Yeah. So for anybody that just tuned in again, my name is Conrad Lee, founder of Boxzes, a brand that specializes in multifunctional display boxes, and I'm currently going over 10 different tips on how to utilize your space better. And right now I'm moving on to my 8th tip, which is incorporating sensory design. Sensory design is very important, as it's almost like the icing on the cake for me. For me, you can see I've actually used a fragrance diffuser because on top of building on top of just the visuals, you can actually enhance your space just by adding a different smell to it. So sometimes people get that I'm home smell, and for me, this is kind of similar to my home smell. And you can see it's a nice touch. It doesn't take up a lot of space, and it really makes your space belong to you a bit more and create a sense of belonging. And next up, I'll be talking about how sound can affect how it can affect the overall mood of the space. So just take for example, if you play classical music versus hip-hop music, that's already two different moods. And for me, I would normally play classical music when I really need to focus and when I really need to work. And you know, when I have people coming in, I'll play something more upbeat, more energetic, just because it definitely helps change up the atmosphere of a space. So moving on to my 9th tip, it's to really surround yourself with things that give you positive energy, or things that you love, or things that make you happy. And take my word for it, I've probably been self-quarantined, self-isolated for the past 2 years since I've started Boxzes, and really surrounding myself with all these different items, with different things I love, and just working 16 hours a day, or often not, you know, it really makes a difference. When you look at them, I feel very refreshed. And you know, I'm not a loser, but it really makes me feel refreshed. And then let's talk about plants. You know, plants have a very special energy to them. Not only do they reward you when you water them properly, but they also purify the air, and they make you more engaged to your space. You know, you can makes you feel more of a sense of belonging, and overall, I think plants have very positive energy. But you know, I highly do not recommend artificial plants, just because they don't give the same kind of energy. But if you're like me and you're kind of, you know, OCD, obsessed with tidiness, you really, you know, artificial plant looking a certain way is really not a bad choice. And last but not least, my final point, and my final most cost-effective tip on how to utilize your personal space is yourself. Point number 10, appreciate everything that you have. Why? Because as human beings, we often greed for more. We often want new stuff, but it's really in times like these where if you learn to appreciate that, for example, everybody at home is safe and disease-free, it can really be more rewarding than just thinking about the stuff that you can do outside of quarantine, you know, and really appreciating all your surroundings, everything that you've achieved, everything that you've loved, and or whatever that may be, your portraits, your past achievements. But it's only when you learn to appreciate the stuff that you have, you really learn, you really learn to start loving your space even more and appreciating it. Yeah, so thank you. Those are my 10 tips, and I hope you guys enjoy. If there's any questions you guys want to ask, feel free to ask in the live section, comment section.
We've actually got a lot of questions coming through. The first one is, in your opinion, what is the best way to keep these clear boxes clean?
Clean, okay. Yeah, that's a great question. So actually, that's a very great question. So with every box, it actually comes with a package. And within that package, there's obviously a thank you card, and there's a cleaning cloth. So you guys, I am obsessed with tidiness, obsessed with being clean. So this is what helps me keep all my boxes clean. And sometimes if you want, all you gotta do is just wipe it. And if you feel friction, that's actually a good thing because that means you're wiping away dust.
The next question is, Marie Kondo has recently been criticized about her stance on books. She believes they're clutter and should be thrown away. What is your take on that?
My take on it is, I think books are actually a work of art, but you know, to a point she's right. If you're keeping books that you don't even touch or reread, just throw them away, you know, because it's only going to keep building up, and you're probably not going to touch it for, like I said, if you're not going to touch something for 6 months, you won't be touching it again for another 6 months, I guarantee you. So throw it away unless the cover is really nice like this one over here. Don't throw this one away, you know.
The next question is, what other ways besides color and lighting do you use to boost productivity?
Ooh. Well, I talked about sensory design, right? So when I really need to focus, I keep my blinds down, I close away all the distractions. And closing the blinds really helps me lose a sense of time as well. So I guess if we refer back to Parasite, I think that guy completely lost track of time as well. And that's how I kind of go around with work productivity. And listening to classical music, things with music with no lyrics, you know, it helps me keep less distracted and really focuses a bit more. So do you guys have a last question for me?
We have one more that just came in. It says, with Hong Kong's humidity, are there any tips or tricks that you use to protect the items that are in storage?
Yeah, so I know for a lot of my clients who are collectors, they actually collect different stuff, such as handbags, shoes, and even different types of collectibles. And often or not, those products are leather goods, and being exposed to humidity can really make it mold. And for me, my best tip is obviously, number one, to keep it inside an Ampha box, and number two, to invest in a dehumidifying machine or some kind of dehumidifier box, or those packets you get that absorb moisture, as that will really help prevent molding from your leather goods. So, guys, thank you very much for coming. Hope you guys stay safe, take care, and I'll see you guys next time. So, yeah, I'll welcome you guys out. Thank you. I hope to see you guys again.